So my name is Bob.Ochs. I'm the pre-engineering instructor at Norman High School. I am actually employed by the Norman Technology Center, but my classroom is here at Norman High School. Now at the high school itself, we have 5 buildings. Now they're all disconnected, so we have a 5-building campus to which we kind of have to walk outside every once in a while. We've got the main building that houses the math classes, the humanitarian classes, the language classes, and then we have the orchestra and band building, we have the new arts building, we have the science building, and then we have this building. Now, they really don't have a name for this building, they just call it Building 900. And basically, that's the building where all the classes that didn't have a place are housed. So this is my classroom, such as it is. It used to be an old art classroom, and as you can see, it's made up a lot of brick walls, a lot of windows, very few gypsum walls around to hang things on the wall. Being brick walls, we got to be very on guard because things have a tendency to fall off there quite often. Because of the budget, we have to watch our heating bills. So in the wintertime, it seems to be cold in here quite often, and in the summertime, it is often warm. So we have large fluctuations in temperature and humidity, and that's one of the reasons why things on the wall have a tendency to want to fall off. Now, when I was first assigned to this classroom, we had a desk, my personal desk was housed right here. And we had 8 tables that we extended all the way out for that. Now, that ideally is the best type of classroom to have for a career tech classroom. But when you're in a career tech classroom, you're dealing with older students. What I found after that first year was that that did not necessarily work when you're dealing with freshmen and sophomore students. So as you can see, I've reorganized the room and set it apart more like compartments, if you will. And every student in here now feels like they're part of a little niche. I've organized it much like you would in a regular workplace. And each classroom has roughly around 15 students. I've divided it up into groups of 3, and each group has a particular supervisor, if you will, or group leader, if you will. And they coordinate with me just like I would with a supervisor out in the real world. And that's how I've organized this room. Now, if you follow me around, let's take a tour of the room such as it is. And let's take you up here in the front. If we have lectures and presentations in here, this is usually where it occurs, right here in the front. In the public schools here in Norman, we have what is called the Infinite Classroom. And it's made up of a smart board, such as you see here. And we have a little workstation here that has a computer that is actually hooked to this projector, as well as an overhead projector that we can actually have. And then we have these things here that are called Mobies. And this is where we can work at a remote location while we're actually working things off the smart board. Now, this is ideal as far as instructional goes, but the first thing that you'll notice that there's a safety hazard here. And that safety hazard is we have a long cord. Now, ideally, we'd like to have that cord covered up. But because this cart goes all over the room, that's almost impossible to do. So what we tried to do is we place a tripping hazard sign down here to warn everybody to take notice when they walk up here. You know, you're going to have these cords in the way, make sure you step over them. Now, I'm going to go around another part of the room here. Let's go take a look and see where I've got my safety posters, if you will. Now, ideally, I'd like to put my safety posters on a bulletin board. But as you can see, the brick walls present a problem. There is an issue with the Technology Center as well with the high school about tapping into the bricks in order to hang this bulletin board. So they're not really too keen on the idea of mounting a bulletin board to the wall. Ideally, if I had one, I'd like to put it back here under the clock. And that would be an ideal place, and it would be easy to get to, and everybody looks at the clock, and it will be a place that everybody can see the posted materials. But in the meantime, what I've had to do is use this little area by the door. Now, it's not the most ideal area, I understand that, but it is the area that everybody sees because they will be walking out and they walk in. Now, as you can see in this area right here, I have all of our safety signs and posters, and with a few little things that kind of capture their attention. Now, keep in mind, I'm dealing with freshmen and sophomores, so I don't want to detail them with long and drawn out rules and regulations on how to conduct themselves safely. So I've tried to keep it simple with just some big print that they can actually look off of, and probably no more than 10 to 12 instructions that must apply in this room. And so they can refer to this if they need to. I remind them constantly about it. Now over here on the door we have our OSHA safety poster, and I also have our fire drill evacuation a map as to where the students should go in the event of a fire drill. They also know that in the event of a tornado or in a lockdown, we also line up against this wall here. Now, I've debated about whether putting any type of map up here because it's within the room. They don't really exit the room whatsoever. And in the lockdown, the students go into the closet, which is located over in this area here. Now, I'm going to walk over here and I want to show you our little work table that we have. And this is probably where, if we are going to do using any power tools whatsoever, and mind you, we don't use them very much, if at all. Probably the most ornate we get on any type of power equipment, or at least something that's electrical in nature, is a glue gun. And this is where it takes place. Now, this is where we have our protective gloves, if you will, mostly for gluing. And we also have safety glasses, and each student has a safety glasses that's mounted into 15, 16 bins here for each of these glasses. Ideally, this is not the best situation, at least as far as I'm concerned. Ideally, I'd like to give each of my students a set of their own glasses, you know, in the event that someone may have a soreness in the eyes or something like that, that they won't pass any disease on with having to share these glasses. But if 9th and 10th graders have a problem keeping track of their pencils, I would imagine they would have even worse time trying to keep track of safety glasses. Ideally, we should have some type of a cleaning chemical or something that we can clean these glasses off after every use. Unfortunately, that is something we don't have on hand. Now, let's step over here. This is the table that we actually use when we are performing our gluing and using power tools of any type. Now, right now, I have on this table our first aid kit, which I've located here. Ideally, this is a mountable kit. As you can see, I've got some mounting points that I can actually mount this to the wall. But again, because our wall is all brick and they have an issue with tapping anything into the walls, I keep this usually on top of our little refrigerator right here. It's safely out of the way, but in a location that they are readily aware of. Now, I also have an emergency hammer, if you will, And you notice we have some large windows in here. In the event that we should ever get trapped in here because of a fire, or even in a lockdown situation, we can use this hammer and we can actually knock out this glass. This glass is tempered glass, and so it shouldn't break like normal glass does. This will make it break into a million pieces. Now again, this is made to mount to the wall, but because of our issues with that, I also keep this down here so there's readily access to that. Now on this table also I have my material safety data sheets that I keep track of in this little notebook, and I have my tool inventory and VEX hardware sheets, and this keeps track of all of the tools, where they're located, as well as our VEX hardware that we use to build our robots with. Now typically I store those behind my desk, which is right here. That way I can have easy access to them at all times. Now, because of this classroom being the way it is, it's not like a regular career tech classroom like you would see in the construction field, in carpentry or in electrical area or plumbing areas such as that. I do not have a tool bin or a tool crib of any type to keep tools. For the tools that we use in this classroom, this is my toolbox. And as you can see, I've got all my pliers, vice grips, and anything that has anything to do with clamping in this top drawer. I've got my electrical tools, hacksaws, in my second drawer that I keep. And I usually am pretty strict about which drawers I keep these in. The students know where they are. I also have clamps in this drawer along with some Allen wrenches. And then I've got my quick grip clamps down in the bottom drawer. And this all fits very, very nicely. Up here, I have my socket sets, my screwdriver sets. I do have a cordless drill, and I do have a set of bits that go along with that. Now, in this classroom, this is probably the extent of the tools that we'll be using. Now, because we don't have any standalone power equipment like bandsaws or drill presses or any of that type, we don't have any electrical conduits in here that really have a separate turn-off switch or a dedicated circuit. So that's never been a worry here. We don't have any circuit breaker for that. So safety-wise, that's never been a concern. If anything, probably the only piece of equipment that we do use and have used is this structural stress analyzer, which we've used in the Principles of Engineering class. Now, we've used this to do tensile tests on metal samples to break them, and we plot our curves to show how those breaks go. And we've also created trusses, if you will, and we've actually crushed them to see what kind of forces that would be applied before they break. So this would be ideally something that doesn't necessarily have to have a dedicated circuit with it. Our regular 110 circuitry that we have right here is perfectly capable of handling this. So this is the pre-engineering program here at the high school. Now keep in mind, we have consolidated a lot of it. And